So judging by what we hear from you guys, it is difficult to feel anything but rage when we talk about Flint, Michigan, a town whose water was poisoned by lead after the state's appointed emergency manager switched its drinking water source to save money. The state allowed corrosive river water to go through Flint's pipes without proper treatment. Despite a warning from the EPA about lead in the water back in February, despite evidence of lead levels rising in the blood tests of Flint kids, the administration of Michigan's Republican Governor Rick Snyder continued to insist publicly for months that Flint water was safe to drink. But the people of Flint could tell something was seriously wrong with their water. In March, the Flint City Council voted 7-1 to go back to their old, safe, clean water from Detroit. But in Michigan, in Rick Snyder's Michigan, that kind of a vote doesn't mean anything, because instead of local elected officials having a say over what happens in their town, in Michigan, in this particular town, the town happened to be run by an emergency manager who was appointed by and who answered to Governor Rick Snyder. And that emergency manager called the city council's little vote on the subject incomprehensible. He said water from Detroit is no safer than water from Flint. Since we have been covering this story, we've had a lot of feedback from our viewers, from you guys. This story is apparently striking a nerve. It is apparently making people all around the country really mad. We've also had a lot of people contacting us, though, asking how they can help these kids in Flint who have been irreversibly poisoned by their state. And that urge to help, to do something, that is a powerful human thing. And honestly, if you want to find redemption in this whole sordid mess, it may be found in the acts of individual heroism in Flint over these past months as people started to realize that they were going to need to help themselves. The people of Flint held water drives at malls and at high school football games where people could donate bottled water for the local schools and for their neighbors. A local food bank convinced FEMA to truck in thousands of liters of bottled water to give away for free. The Michigan arm of the Kroger grocery chain lowered the price of bottled water specifically in its stores in and around Flint. And then there are people like Lanice Lawson. Now, that's her on the right in the sunglasses there. She started an online fundraising campaign to bring in bottled water for kids at Flint schools. She just started it herself personally. She called it Bottles for the Babies. She's raised almost $2,500 in her online campaign. Periodically, she loads up a truck and delivers a few thousand bottles to a school or a daycare center or a senior center. Considering Rick Snyder thought the people of Flint were so incapable of governing themselves that he installed someone to do it for them, the way the people of Flint have coped on their own with the damage the Rick Snyder administration has done to them, it is inspiring. But by themselves, the people of Flint are not going to be able to fix all the harm that has been done to the town or to its kids. That is why the mayor declared a state of man-made disaster in Flint. That's why she's calling on Governor Snyder to get in gear and do more. It's why Flint's state representatives and its U.S. congressmen are now pressing for more as well. Joining us now is Representative Dan Kildee. He represents Flint in Congress. Congressman, I know 2 nights before Christmas is not the easiest time in the world for you to be here. I really appreciate you being here tonight.
Thank you very much.
What does Flint need from the state, from the Rick Snyder administration right now, and are you confident you're going to get it?
Well, we need more than an apology and an acknowledgement that they failed. We need them to make it right. We need the state to step up and to help us establish a fund to get the kids who have suffered lead exposure the kind of environmental or the nutritional support that will offset some of the damage done by lead, early childhood education for all of them to overcome the developmental challenges that come with lead exposure, long-term support for their educational experience going forward. We need and can help these kids, but if the governor just continues to sit and wait and say that he's done enough, every day these kids lose is a day they can't get back. And so among the many things that he needs to do, fixing the lead service lines, helping with infrastructure, he needs to step up and help these kids, because if we help them now, they can have a better future. If we simply say, well, we're sorry, or he says he's sorry, it's these kids who are the victim of just a terrible mistake that they made while the state was running the city of Flint.
You've been very vocal about this idea that there ought to be essentially like a health fund to support these kids who were poisoned, again, by no fault of their own. The people in Flint did nothing wrong. This was a decision that happened against the will of their elected officials in many cases, and it was done by the state. Do you have any estimate of how much what you're describing here might cost, how big an endeavor that would be?
We don't know right now. I've been working with Dr. Mona Hanna-Attisha, who is really one of the heroes of this, the pediatrician at Hurley Medical Center. And we have a group that are going to put together what we think it will take. But it's nutritional support, it's early childhood education. There's about 7,000 kids under the age of 5 who should get this kind of direct help. It's not something we cannot do. It's not a problem so big that it can't be solved. But if the governor continues to try to deflect blame and not deal with actually doing something to offset the damage that they've done, they're going to leave these kids behind. We can do this. We just need the people who made this mistake, not just to accept accountability, but take responsibility to make it right.
Do you believe that the state deliberately withheld information or actively misled the public about what they knew about the lead levels in the water?
From what I have seen, it is very clear that the state was aware that there were elevated lead levels, and they tried to keep it from going public. They actually tried to sort of criticize one of the EPA officials who helped to reveal that this problem was real by calling him a rogue employee. One state official told that city residents should just relax. That's the word that was used. So they did try to minimize this, cover it up. I think they were thinking that the people in Flint would just let it go. They don't know the people in Flint. They're not going to let this go. I'm not going to let it go. They need to make it right.
Democratic Congressman Dan Kildee, who represents Flint, Michigan. Sir, again, I appreciate you being here 2 nights before Christmas. I hope you don't mind when we call you again soon to ask you back. This is not a story we plan on walking away from. We feel like we're right in the middle of it.
Well, I thank you for that. This helps.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. All right. We got one more big story coming up from today's news. It is a big threat that has been made, but it is a truly excellently pointless threat, which, of course, has been made with a giant exclamation point on it. And that story is still ahead. Stay with us.